The Grand Council chamber of the Xylaxian Empire buzzed with tension as High Admiral Crick stood before the assembled leaders. The massive holographic display behind him showed 5 destroyed expedition ships, each representing billions in resources and hundreds of lost lives. All because of one seemingly primitive planet, Earth. Distinguished council members, Crix began, his iridescent scales shifting from deep blue to purple with concern, we've lost contact with our 5th expedition force. The Stellar Vanguard, our most advanced stealth vessel, has vanished just like the others. The chamber erupted in worried whispers. First speaker Naira, her crystalline form catching the light of the chamber's aurora ceiling, raised a hand for silence. This is unprecedented. Earth shows no signs of advanced technology. Their spacecraft barely reach their own moon. How can they defeat our best ships? Commander Zix, standing at attention in his obsidian armor, stepped forward. First speaker, I volunteer to lead the next mission. The Phantom Whisper is ready, our newest vessel with technology 3 generations ahead of anything we've sent before. Naira's crystal segments shifted in thought. Your record is impressive, Commander, but we've lost too many of our best already. Perhaps we should consider diplomatic. With respect, Zix interrupted, his scales flushing orange with determination, we need answers. The Phantom Whisper has quantum cloaking. Even if Earth has somehow developed advanced detection systems, they won't see us coming. Science Director Myra, her tentacles weaving complex patterns in the air as she analyzed data, joined the discussion. Commander Zix is right, but we need to approach this differently. Previous missions focused on military strength. I suggest we prioritize observation and analysis. The council chamber's lights dimmed as Myra projected new data. Earth's conditions are extreme by our standards. Variable temperatures, high gravity, dense atmosphere. Any species surviving there would be remarkably adaptable. Zix studied the projections. My crew is ready. We've trained in high-gravity simulations. Lieutenant Vex leads our science team. She's the foremost expert on primitive civilizations. 3 cycles later, the Phantom Whisper slipped silently through space, its quantum drive leaving no trace of its passage. Commander Zix stood on the observation deck, watching his crew prepare for their approach to the Sol system. Lieutenant Vex approached, her scales a scholarly shade of green. Commander, I've been studying the last transmission from the Stellar Vanguard. There's something odd about how it ends. Show me, Zix ordered, turning to the nearby console. The fragmentary message played. Defenses, unlike anything, cannot maintain. They were waiting. They've always been. It cuts off there, Vex explained, but notice the phrase, they were waiting. It suggests Earth knew they were coming despite our stealth technology. Zix frowned, impossible. Their detection capabilities are centuries behind ours. Unless, Vex hesitated, we're wrong about their level of advancement. The Phantom Whisper's sensors picked up the first signs of Earth's solar system. Officer Krall at the tactical station reported no signs of advanced technology. Primitive satellites in orbit, some space debris, a small station, all consistent with our intelligence. Zix wasn't satisfied. Maintain maximum stealth. Begin passive scans of the entire system. I want to know about any anomalies, no matter how small. As they passed the gas giant Jupiter, the ship's quantum sensors detected something unusual. Commander, Vex called out, I'm picking up traces of exotic particles. They're forming patterns that suggest artificial origin. A source, Zix demanded. Dispersed throughout the system, Vex replied, her scales shifting to purple with concern. It's like a web, but so subtle our previous expeditions might have missed it. Before Zix could respond, Officer Krall shouted, energy spike. Massive power signature coming from Earth's moon. The Phantom Whisper's alarms blared as multiple beams of invisible energy swept through space. Despite its quantum cloaking, despite being theoretically undetectable, the ship had been found. Evasive maneuvers, Zix ordered, but it was too late. The energy beams converged on their location, and suddenly their advanced systems began failing one by one. They're using some kind of targeted quantum interference, Vex reported, her voice tight with disbelief. They're unraveling our stealth field at the subatomic level. As the Phantom Whisper systems flickered and died, Zix watched Earth growing larger in their viewport. The truth hit him with stunning clarity, they hadn't been hunting Earth. Earth had been hunting them. The last thing he saw before impact was a swarm of sleek, black vessels rising from Earth's atmosphere, ships that had definitely not appeared in any of their intelligence reports. The Phantom Whisper's emergency systems struggled against Earth's gravity as Commander Zix regained consciousness. Warning lights bathed the bridge in an eerie red glow. Through the cracked viewscreen, dense forest surrounded their crash site. "Status report," Zix called out, pulling himself from the command chair. His scales had shifted to a dull gray from the impact. Lieutenant Vex emerged from behind a fallen console, her scientific instruments clutched protectively against her chest. "Multiple hull breaches, Commander. Quantum drive is offline. Most concerning, our atmospheric shields are failing." Officer Krall managed to get the tactical systems running on emergency power. "Sir, we're detecting multiple aircraft approaching. Their technology, it's not matching our intelligence reports at all." Zix moved to the tactical display, ignoring the pain from what felt like several broken ribs. The vessels approaching weren't the primitive aircraft they'd expected. These were sleek, angular shapes that barely registered on their sensors' stealth technology that rivaled their own. "Everyone who can move, gather essential equipment," Zix ordered. "We need to evacuate before." A massive explosion rocked the ship. Through the viewscreen, they watched as pieces of their quantum drive scattered across the forest floor, deliberately targeted and destroyed by precise weapons fire. "They're not trying to capture the ship," Vex realized, her scales paling. "They're systematically destroying our advanced technology." Zix activated the shipwide comm. "All personnel abandon ship immediately, scatter in groups of 3, rendezvous at emergency coordinates Delta 7. He turned to his bridge crew. "They know exactly what they're doing, we're not dealing with primitives." The crew quickly gathered what they could carry. Vex downloaded the ship's data core into a portable unit while Krall distributed emergency survival packs. As they prepared to leave, the ship's sensors picked up ground vehicles approaching. "Movement in the trees," Krall reported, adjusting his scanner. "They're surrounding us." The first sign of their hunters came as a barely visible distortion in the air-active camouflage technology. Human soldiers in advanced combat suits emerged from the forest, their weapons trained on the crashed ship. "Run," Zix commanded. The bridge crew scattered into the forest just as the first shots rang out. The weapons weren't the primitive projectiles they'd expected, these fired pulses of concentrated energy that cut through their armor like it was tissue. Zix ran alongside Vex and Krall, their feet pounding against Earth's soil for the first time. The planet's higher gravity made every step feel like walking through deep water. Behind them, they could hear the methodical advance of the human soldiers. Commander Vex gasped as they ran. "Their tactics. They've done this before, they're hurting us." She was right. Every time they tried to change direction, precisely placed shots would force them back on a specific path. They weren't being hunted, they were being directed. The forest opened into a small clearing, and Zix realized too late it was a trap. A high-pitched whine filled the air as hidden emitters activated, creating an energy barrier around the clearing. They were trapped. "Hold your position," a human voice commanded in perfect Silexian. "You are surrounded." Zix's scales shifted rapidly between colors as shock and realization set in. "They know our language, they've studied us." A figure stepped through the energy barrier, a human female in what appeared to be a command uniform. She carried no visible weapons, but her presence radiated authority. "Commander Zix of the Phantom Whisper," she said, again in Zylaxian. "We've been expecting you, though I must admit we thought you'd last longer than your predecessors." Vex's scientific curiosity overcame her fear. "How do you know who we are? How do you have our language?" The human commander smiled. "You're not the first to visit us, Lieutenant Vex, and unlike you, we learn from each encounter." She gestured, and more soldiers emerged from the forest, carrying pieces of technology that Zix recognized with horror parts from the previous expedition ships. "Your stealth technology is impressive," the human continued. "But did you really think you were the first species to develop it? We've been dealing with invisible threats since before we reached our moon." Krall raised his weapon, but faster than any Zylaxian could move. The human soldiers had them targeted with weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. "Don't," the human commander warned. "Your armor's already been compromised by our initial strike. The next shot won't be set to stun." Zix looked at his crew, then back at the human. "What are you?" The commander's expression remained neutral. "We're the reason no one returns from Earth, Commander. We're humanity's first and last line of defense. And you're about to learn why Earth is considered a death trap by every spacefaring race that's ever found us." In the distance, more ships approached human vessels that made the Phantom Whisper look primitive by comparison. Zix finally understood the truth. They hadn't crashed on a primitive world. They'd walked into the galaxy's most sophisticated trap. Commander Zix and his crew sat in a pristine white room deep within what the humans called their extraterrestrial defense command. Through the energy barrier that served as one wall, he could see humans in lab coats studying pieces of the Phantom Whisper. Lieutenant Vex hadn't stopped taking notes on her neural recorder since their capture, her scientific curiosity overwhelming even their dire situation. Commander, their technology isn't just advanced, it's an impossible amalgamation of different scientific approaches. Some of these principles shouldn't work together. The door slid open, and the human commander from the forest entered, accompanied by what appeared to be a scientific advisor. Astute observation, Lieutenant, the human said. I'm Director Kane, and this is Dr. Patel. We've been authorized to explain exactly why your mission was doomed from the start. Officer Kral, his scales dark with anger, spoke up. Your primitives, your ships barely reach your moon, our intelligence. Your intelligence, Dr. Patel interrupted, is exactly what we wanted you to see. He activated a holographic display that put even Zylaxian technology to shame. Those primitive satellites, decoys, that small space station, a theater prop hiding our real orbital defenses. The display showed layer after layer of hidden human technological achievements. Quantum detection grids disguised as space debris. Stealth ships hiding in plain sight around their moon. Weapons platforms masked as asteroids. But how, Vex asked, her scales shifting to the deep green of scientific fascination. This level of advancement. Director Kane smiled. We had help, unwitting help, but help nonetheless. The display changed to show familiar ships, previous alien expeditions that had tried to reach Earth. Every species that found us taught us something new. Their crashed ships became our teachers. Reverse engineering, Zix realized with growing horror. You've been learning from every failed invasion. Precisely, Dr. Patel confirmed. The Arcturians taught us quantum mechanics, the Draconids gave us faster-than-light technology, the Centaurans showed us how to manipulate gravity. He paused, looking directly at Zix. And now your Phantom Whisper will help us perfect our stealth systems even further. Vex's scales paled. The previous expeditions, you captured their crews too. When possible, Director Kane said, those who survived became our guests. Some even chose to stay to help us prepare for the next visitors. She touched a control, and one wall became transparent, revealing a massive chamber beyond. Inside, aliens of various species worked alongside humans at advanced technical stations. You're lying, Kral accused. Why would any advanced species help primitives? A new voice joined the conversation, a Draconid scientist, entering through another door. Because, young one, humans are anything but primitive. They're the most terrifying species we've ever encountered. The Draconid approached, his ceremonial scales marking him as a high-ranking scientist. When my ship crashed here 30 Earth years ago, I thought we were doomed. Instead, I found a species that adapts faster than any in the galaxy. They don't just learn technology, they improve it, combine it in ways we never imagined. Director Kane nodded. Every species specializes, becomes perfect at one thing. Zylaxians master stealth. Draconids excel at energy manipulation. Arcturians understand quantum mechanics. But humans, we take it all, mix it together, and create something new. The holographic display showed scenes from human history, countless wars, disasters, and challenges that had forged their species. We evolved on a death world, Dr. Patel explained. Everything here tried to kill us. We had to become adaptable just to survive. That adaptability is what makes us dangerous. Your mission was a test, Director Kane revealed. We detected your ship the moment it entered the solar system. We could have destroyed you immediately, but we wanted to observe your capabilities. She looked at Zix with something like respect. You lasted longer than most. Vex, who had been analyzing everything, suddenly straightened. The exotic particle web we detected. It wasn't just for detection, was it? No, Dr. Patel confirmed. It's a quantum communication network. Every species that finds Earth returns home with the same message: this planet is too dangerous, too primitive to be worth the risk. That message spreads and most civilizations stay away. But some don't listen, the Draconid scientist added. Some, like your empire, keep trying, and with each attempt humans grow stronger. Director Kane's expression turned serious. Which brings us to why we're having this conversation. We're offering you a choice, Commander Zix. You and your crew can join our scientific exchange program, helping us prepare for the next visitors who don't take the warning seriously. Or, or Zix asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. Or we send you home with a message that even your most aggressive leaders can't ignore. The holographic display showed one final image, a massive human fleet, hidden in subspace, ready to emerge at a moment's notice. Zix looked at his crew, then at the chamber of alien scientists working with humans. Everything they'd believed about Earth had been wrong. They weren't hunting primitive prey, they'd been primitive prey themselves, being tested by a far more dangerous predator. Before I decide, Zix said, answer one question. Why maintain the deception? Why not simply reveal your true power? Director Kane's answer chilled him to his core. Because, Commander, humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology, it's our ability to be underestimated. Commander Zix lay motionless in his cell, his scales deliberately maintained at the dull gray of depression. For 3 Earth days, he'd watched his crew members being led away one by one for interviews with the human scientists. Each returned with the same glazed look, speaking of the incredible opportunities in the human scientific exchange program. But Zix had seen through their deception. Beneath the fancy name, it was still captivity. Lieutenant Vex was the latest to return, her scales an unnaturally bright shade of green. Commander, you have to see their quantum laboratories. The things they're doing with merged technologies, it's beyond anything we could imagine. Are you listening to yourself, Vex? Zix whispered. This isn't you, they've done something to your mind. A flicker of her old self passed across her eyes before the artificial enthusiasm returned. That was all Zix needed to see. His suspicions were confirmed. Officer Krall, who had been watching silently from the corner, moved closer. The humans are not as infallible as they want us to believe, he murmured, his scales shifting in a pattern that Zix recognized as their special forces code. Later that night, as the facility's lights dimmed for the nocturnal cycle, Zix activated the microscopic quantum transmitter he'd managed to hide in his scales. A backup device so small even the humans' advanced scanners had missed it. The signal would be weak, but it only needed to reach the emergency probe they'd launched just before entering Earth's atmosphere. Begin emergency log, he subvocalized. The humans are more dangerous than we imagined, but not for the reasons they want us to believe. Their greatest weapon isn't their technology, it's deception. Through the energy barrier, he watched the guard patterns, noting how they'd grown slightly lax over the past days. The humans were confident in their control systems, perhaps too confident. They show us what they want us to see. Yes, they have advanced technology salvaged from crashed ships. Yes, they've learned to combine it in unique ways, but their real mastery is in manipulation. They've developed methods to alter minds to make captives willing participants. Krall made his move during the shift change, timing it perfectly with a predetermined power fluctuation he'd noticed in the containment field. The humans had their secrets, but Zix's crew had some of their own. Every member of the Phantom Whisper had undergone genetic modifications that the human scans couldn't detect, including the ability to temporarily suppress their own life signs. As alarms blared through the facility, Zix and Krall moved swiftly through the corridors, their bodies pressed against the walls in positions that exploited blind spots in the security systems. The humans had studied Zylaxian technology, but they didn't know everything about Zylaxian biology. The scientific exchange program is a front, Zix continued recording as they moved. They're building an army of converted aliens using their knowledge while keeping them docile through some form of mental conditioning. The advanced technology they showed us was real, but it's a fraction of their true capabilities. They reached the quantum research lab where pieces of the Phantom Whisper were being studied. Krall quickly accessed a terminal, his enhanced memory recalling the access codes he'd glimpsed during his interviews. Most importantly, Zix recorded, they're preparing for something bigger. The fleet they showed us wasn't meant to intimidate, it was meant to distract from whatever they're really building. Director Kane's voice echoed through the facility's communication system. Commander Zix, I must admit I'm impressed. No one's attempted an escape in years, but you're not seeing the bigger picture. Zix and Krall reached their target, a prototype quantum drive the humans had been developing using technology from multiple alien species. It was exactly what they needed. That's where you're wrong, Director, Zix muttered as they worked to interface the drive with their emergency beacons. I'm seeing more than you intended. The humans had made one critical mistake. In their arrogance, they'd assumed that showing off their technological achievements would demoralize their captives. Instead, it had revealed the extent of their preparations, their true intentions, and most importantly, their methods. As security forces converged on their position, Zix made his final recording. To any species receiving this warning, Earth is not what it appears. The humans are not simply defending their world, they're building an empire. The primitive planet is a facade. The helpful scientists are enslaved. And they're using our own people, our own technology, to prepare for a war that no one else knows is coming. The quantum drive hummed to life just as the doors burst open. Director Kane entered, flanked by security forces and the blank-eyed Lieutenant Vex. "You don't understand what we're offering," Kane said, her voice almost sincere. "We're preparing to save the galaxy from threats you can't imagine." "No," Zix replied, his scales shifting to the deep red of resolution. "You're becoming the threat." The quantum drive activated, creating a localized field that the humans couldn't penetrate. As the emergency extraction protocol engaged, Zix saw something flicker across Kane's face, not anger or frustration but satisfaction. The last thing he heard before the quantum field collapsed space around them was Kane's voice. "Thank you for proving us right." The quantum field collapsed, depositing Commander Zix and Officer Kral in their emergency extraction point beyond Earth's orbit. Their small probe waited exactly where they'd left it, cloaked and undetected, or so they thought. "Emergency launch protocols," Zix ordered as they boarded the probe. "We need to warn the Council before." "Warning," the probe's AI announced. Multiple quantum signatures detected. Through the viewscreen, space itself seemed to tear open. Massive ships emerged from subspace rifts, human vessels larger than anything they'd shown in their supposed fleet. But these weren't the sleek, technological marvels they'd displayed in their facility. These ships were monstrous amalgamations of various alien technologies, twisted and combined in ways that defied natural law. "They let us escape," Kral realized, his scales paling. This was another test. Director Kane's voice came through their communications system, accompanied by a holographic projection. "Correct, Officer Kral, we needed to know if our containment protocols could be breached. You've helped us identify several weaknesses." Zix's mind raced as the pieces fell into place. The mental conditioning, the scientific exchange program, it wasn't just about gathering knowledge. You're building an army. "Not quite," Kane replied. "We're building a defense force. You see, Commander, humanity didn't develop all this technology just because we could. We did it because we had to." The hologram expanded, showing images that made both Zalaxians freeze in terror. Vast, dark shapes moving between galaxies. Ancient horrors that their legends only hinted at. "They're coming," Kane continued. "The real threat. The reason why developing space travel always leads species to Earth. We're not just some primitive planet that happened to get lucky with crashed alien technology. We're the front line." "The front line of what?" Zix demanded. "The only war that matters." A new voice joined the conversation. Lieutenant Vex appeared beside Kane, but different now. Her eyes were clear, her scales their natural color. "Commander, I wasn't mentally conditioned. I chose to help them because they showed me the truth." The hologram zoomed out, revealing the true scale of human preparation. Hidden throughout their solar system were weapons platforms disguised as planets, defense grids masquerading as asteroid belts, and fleets concealed within dimensional pockets. "Earth isn't just humanity's cradle," Vex explained. "It's a fortress deliberately positioned at a crucial stellar crossroads. Every species that achieves space travel eventually finds us because we're meant to find each other, to prepare together." Kane nodded. "Those ancient horrors out there, they've destroyed countless civilizations, but Earth is where we make our stand. Every piece of technology we've gathered, every species we've learned from, it's all been in preparation for their arrival." Zix watched as more ships emerged, vessels crewed by aliens he recognized. Not mindless servants, but allies who had discovered the same truth he now faced. "The choice we offered wasn't just about joining our scientific program," Kane said. "It was about joining the only force capable of fighting what's coming. Your empire's technology, especially your stealth capabilities, could save billions of lives." "And if we refuse?" Kral asked. "Then we send you home with altered memories of a primitive planet not worth investigating," Kane replied honestly. "We've done it before, but I don't think you will. Show them, Lieutenant." Vex activated another hologram, this one showing long-range sensor data. The dark shapes were closer now, their movement deliberate, hunting. They'll reach the first inhabited systems within a generation, Vex said. No single species has the power to stop them, but together, combining our knowledge in ways none of us could achieve alone. Zix looked at the human fleet, truly seeing it for the first time. Each ship represented the combined knowledge of dozens of civilizations, adapted and enhanced by humanity's unique ability to innovate and merge disparate technologies. You're not conquering the galaxy, he realized. You're uniting it, preparing it. Yes, Kane confirmed. Earth isn't a death trap for alien expeditions. It's a testing ground. Those who find us who prove themselves capable of reaching us are the ones we need, the ones strong enough to face what's coming. The probe's sensors detected more ships arriving vessels from countless civilizations, all gathered around Earth. Not prisoners or subjects, but allies in a war most of the galaxy didn't even know was looming. So Commander Zix, Kane said, we ask you again, will you join us? Not as a captive or a research subject, but as an equal. Earth needs your knowledge, your technology, your perspective. And in return, we offer you the truth and a chance to save everything you know. Zix looked at Crow, then at Vex, seeing the weight of the choice before them. Earth wasn't what they'd thought, it was something far more important. A shield, a fortress, a last line of defense against horrors beyond imagination. His scales shifted to the deep blue of certainty as he made his decision. The next alien expedition to find Earth wouldn't discover a primitive planet or a technological graveyard. They would find humanity's greatest achievement, a united galaxy preparing for the only war that ever truly mattered.